And up after that was Lindy Gray with track 3 from her debut EP called Right for Revival. And wonderful songwriting there. And we're going to learn all about the method behind Lindy's work because she's sitting in the studio with us. Hello, Lindy.
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming in. You are local based and you're one of the wonderful people that have come through the studio in the last few months, recommended by Robin from Fistful of Snacks, who's another great local songwriter. What can you tell me about that song? I know all of your songs are a good kind of storytelling, have a good storytelling element to them.
That song's called Love's in the Fire, and it takes place in the Wild West. It's about a waitress who outsmarts two gamblers who are placing bets on her into a dueling standoff, and no one survives.
That's awesome. That's a traditional murder ballad if ever I've heard one. And technically, I'd say we're in the Wild West. Were you envisioning Western Canada or the traditional US kind of tumbleweeds blowing through the street?
The traditional US, yeah. There's a line about tumbleweeds in there.
Excellent. I knew it. It's stuck in my mind. Awesome. Well, this is a great little segue into Linda actually playing for us here, because all of her songs, have a lot of depth and characterization. They're story songs from the good storytelling tradition in folk music. Did you want to go straight into a live song here, and then we can come in and chat?
I'll do a song that's on the album. It's the second track. It's called Rosalie, and it's about pirates.
Excellent. From the Wild West to the high seas.
I can tell you more about it after. 'Twas a Wednesday, hey, pretty belle on a ship somewhere, set sail in the West Bay, hey, fare thee well to this land, anchors away. Rosalie set out for sea. Southern sails tell the tale of how her luck did fail. She was racing against the sands of time, traveled far and wide, left it all behind. Oh, oh, out of sight. Spoiled by the deeds of misfortune and doth lead. Siren of the sea is she. 1, 2, 3. Captain's hand laid down to bed. Revenge I will seek, she said. Under deck they watched her wreck. All aboard were doomed, I suspect. Oh, oh, ooh, ooh, oh, oh, ooh, ooh, oh, oh, out of sight. Living thee, spoiled by the deeds of misfortune that doth lead. Siren of the sea is she. 1, 2, 3. Set sail upon this misery. All privateers, come and rescue me. Flag the 7 seas with a dead man's crew. Oh lordy, lordy, have mercy on you. Flag the 7 seas with a dead man's crew.
Beautiful live music here from Lindy Gray. She's local based here in Vancouver, and that's the song she's chosen to kick off our interview today. It's called Rosalie, and it's on her debut EP. We'll be right back to have a chat about that song and lots of the other interesting things that Lindy is up to in her life. Okay, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Stranded, the Australian Canadian music and talk show on CiTR here in Vancouver. And we have a special live studio guest, Lindy Gray. And she just played a song for us there called Rosalie. And is that, would sea shanty be the correct term? Or
yeah, I think it's a sea shanty folk song.
What is the story? Who was Rosalie?
Rosalie is a Southern belle who was tricked onto a pirate ship and mistreated by the captain and crew. So she seeks revenge, and every single person on the boat eventually is forced to walk the plank. And then Rosalie is left to sail the ship alone.
That's brilliant. I have so many, whenever you talk about your songs, I get these so many mental images straight away that pop into my head.
It's very cinematic, yeah. I always have visuals to go along with the music.
And so, you've been writing songs for quite some time. This is your debut EP, but I know you've been playing for a long time. So would you say the majority of your songs are stories?
I would say, yeah, the majority, when I started writing, they were, and on this album, definitely they are. But yeah, lately I've just been getting into writing country tunes. So I go back and forth.
I've discovered online that you are actually quite well schooled in Indian traditional music as well. How did you end up in India studying music?
I basically chose to leave my career in my 20s and take a trip to India and see what happened. And I ended up in Varanasi, the city of music, studying with a teacher, Shantu Mishra, for about a month. So I wouldn't say I'm extremely schooled in Indian classical music, but I have studied quite intensely for about a month, and it was an amazing experience, and it's what led me to start taking music seriously.
And I know India has such a rich spiritual tradition, but I don't know much about the physical locale of a city that's dedicated to music. What in particular about that city? It was musical.
It just seems to be a city where musicians gather, and so there's concerts all night long at many locations throughout the city. All of the best teachers live in that city, and so many musicians and people from abroad who want to study are drawn to Varanasi to study there. And that's how I had my guitar on my back, and I was in the south of India and had met a few musicians and played my songs for them, and they had said, you have to go to Varanasi.
Ah.
Yeah, that ended up inspiring me to actually go to jazz school. So while I was in India, I decided that I'm going to apply for jazz school, actually, and try that out. And so I studied for a year at Humber College in Toronto, and then moved to Vancouver and studied for a year at VCC.
So this is Lindy Gray, She is our musical guest for today, and she's brought down her acoustic, and she's about to play another song for us.
Mm-hmm. This is a country tune, and it's one that I wrote when I was really upset, and I was on my front porch, and I just kind of let loose and started to wail, and I heard this imitation of me, and I looked up on the telephone wire, and there was a crow sobbing and imitating me, and I'd never heard a crow make that noise before in my life. So I went inside and I wrote this song called Old Black Crow.
Telephone line knows he's smarter than the both of us. Sees me crying in the dirt and dust. I fell for it again. Never did it feel so bad. Looked to my left and looked to the right. Didn't see it coming, thought that you were mine. Sat me down with a look in your eye. I fell for it again. Never did it feel so bad. I tell you I'm going mad. Fussing and fighting in the whole 9 yards. Playing at a game it wasn't in the cards. Should've seen it coming, known it from the start. I fell for it again. Never did it feel so bad. This house just ain't my home. God, it never felt so bad. Don't yield the flame. You know you're bound to get burned some way. Trying to recall what's left when there ain't nothing left at all. Bird, go fly away. Maybe he'll come back home someday. Maybe he'll come back home someday. Old black crow.
That's another track from Lindy Gray. She is our live studio guest, and it's, I guess, a pretty new song there, Old Black Crow.
About a year old.
About a year old, yeah. Do you think there might be a country EP on its way, or as an isolated track, just your own one and only country song?
Well, my idea is to eventually put out a vinyl that will include the 3 songs that are already on my EP with a couple more that are in that vein on side A, and on side B will be Lindy and the Crow's Nest country EP. So 2 EPs within one record. One quasi-orchestral and one more country bluegrass.
Yeah, your voice is versatile. It lends itself to the country style as well. It's really great. Okay, so we're back here. This is CiTR Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to a show called Stranded, the Australian Canadian Music and Talk Show. Every week I broadcast sounds from my homeland, Australia, and New Zealand as well, like at the start of this show, and lots of great Canadian music featuring many of the fantastic artists that are here in the city of Vancouver, and there are tons and tons, including today's studio guest, Lindy Gray. Thanks again for that last track there, Lindy, country tune. Now, what would you say your main influences are? I know you're quite versatile and travelled. Growing up, were there traditional storytelling songwriters that you admire, folk artists, things like that, or?
Well, I grew up singing in a public school choir, so a lot of choral music has subconsciously influenced me a lot. And I guess when I was a teenager, my cool aunt introduced me to Bjork. When I heard the album Post, that was it for me. And I've also been influenced by jazz, of course, and Indian classical music.
And you're here in the city. You're part of something that I wasn't aware of, but probably I am through what they do as the individuals of this group. It's called the Dusty Flowerpot Cabaret, which sounds like an artist collective. Can you tell us about how that operates and who's part of it?
Well, there's many people that are a part of it, and I sort of was introduced to this group of people when I first moved to Vancouver 7 years ago. And they put on some pretty grandiose theater experiences that involve multidisciplinary arts of all forms, puppeteering, film, acting, clowning, music. And they sort of put all those things together into one big show, and they go all the way. They never do anything that isn't big and epic, and which is kind of how I do things and how I write songs. They're always these epic stories. So I ended up getting involved with them with their theater productions, and they do really great stuff. So.
Can you mention some of the individuals who are involved and what they do?
Yeah, so there's some main swing dancers who are involved. It's Kat Singledane and Candy Curlypaws, who's a tap dancer. Maria in the Shower have been involved in the past doing music for some of the theater productions. Elliot Vaughn has done a lot of arranging for their productions, and he also did the arranging on my album Ready for Revival. And so, they organize the Parade of Lost Souls now. Every year they do Trout Lake Day, and many other small performances there. One coming up is a comedy show, Poupon Parade at In the House Festival, which I will also be playing at that festival as well on June 7th and 8th.
So you have one EP out so far. It's called Ripe for Revival. And what can you tell us about the recording of the EP? I know you mentioned Elliot Vaughan was involved there in production.
So me and Elliot, I met him the first year that I came to Vancouver, and we were singing in an improv choir and became friends, and later on ended up working together at a movie theater. And what would happen is when the show would go in, I would get out my guitar and go to this place called The Dungeon, which was semi-soundproof and away from everything. And I would run songs by him, show him what I was writing, ask for feedback. And he was studying at SFU at the time for composition. And I wrote this song in half about a woman being sawed in half. Has a musical saw solo. And he said he'd like to arrange it. So from there, I just really loved his work and what he did with the song, and we just worked together so well that I asked him if he would arrange this album. And we recorded it at Afterlife Studios in Vancouver, and then mixed it at Profile Sound in Vancouver as well.
And it looks like mastering on Gabriola Island. That's cool. Yeah, that's a great place. Lots of fantastically creative people over there.
Totally.
Oh, cool. Well, so we're talking about the debut EP for Lindy Gray. It's called Right for Revival. You can find it on Bandcamp, lindygray.bandcamp.com. She's come down today with her guitar, and hopefully maybe you'd like to play one more track before we exit.
Yeah. So this song was co-written by a friend of mine, Martin, myself, and a bottle of wine. It's called Coming Home.
Okay.
I've been traveling so long, and my boots are getting worn, and my head is hanging low. Hang my head everywhere, but my life just ain't fair. Wait for me, I'm coming home. When I get out of bounds, they come mess me around, throw me right back to the house. From down in the dirt, no, I can't take the hurt. Wait for me, I'm coming home. 'Cause when I went away, you told me I should stay, swept up by the wind instead. Whoa, where are you now? I'll get to you somehow. Wait for me, I'm coming home. I don't know what comes next, sip these cigarettes, and I can't seem to get no rest. I just wanna forget, wish my fate wasn't set. Wait for me, I'm coming home. 'Cause when I went away, you told me I should stay, swept up by the wind instead. Oh, where are you now? I'll get to you somehow. Wait for me, I'm coming home. From the dusty old bowl to the depths of my soul, I'm just panning for gold. When I come knock on your door, wait for me, I'm coming home. Wait for me, I'm coming home. Wait for me, I'm coming home. Wait for me, I'm coming home.
Just heard there Lindy Gray with her third and final live track here on the show that was called In Half. And it is another, I guess it's kind of a murder ballad, right? It's about someone being cut in half?
Yeah. It takes place in the 1930s, and a lonely woman wanders the carnival midway. She's lost her lover, and she begs a magician to erase her memory. And so what ends up happening is he saws her in half because it's the only way she'll forget.
Wow. Oh, excellent. Lindy Gray uses such fantastic imagery in her songs. Not for the squeamish, though.
Definitely not.
I'm a budding songwriter myself, and I want to write a murder ballad because actually I was in Saskatchewan last year visiting family, and I was reading like a local history book of like a murder that happened there back in the 20s. And this guy ended up fleeing, and they found him in Vancouver of all places. They staked out a place and found him and arrested him. And so Lindy Gray, do you have any tips for writing a good murder ballad? Or is the method too hard to put into words?
I just use my imagination, and often I use characters. So I have this weird collection of dolls from different thrift stores and like antique figurines that I pick up here and there, and I kind of use those to give me imagery and a starting point for what is this character's life like, what's happening in this character's world. For In Half, I had found a music box that actually was a woman, and she was cut in two halves. They were both, it's a porcelain figurine. They were both intact but in half. And so I saw that, and that's where In Half came into play.
Thank you for that insights into the songwriting process of Lindy Gray, and you won't be disappointed if you track down her music online, lindygray.bandcamp.com, and you also have a website, lindygray.com. Yep.
G-R-A-Y.
Yeah, that's right, Gray. And there's some cool videos there too, including one that I liked where Lindy is playing music on a canoe on a lovely sunny day. Where was that exactly?
That was on Quadra Island. Yeah, that was sort of an impromptu photo shoot that was happening on the island there. And we thought, oh, let's get some shots in the canoe. And then the photographer said, well, why don't we just take a video in the canoe? And so I had one person on the back rowing, well, one person in the middle filming, and just took it out for a ride.
Yeah, it was a neat idea, and you can hear the water trickling in the background, but it doesn't distract too much from the music. It's actually a really cool thing. Probably all we have time for. We've got a bit more music to get into before the end of the show, so let's leave you with one more track from Lindy Gray, I guess, In Heart. Whoa, hang on.
There's one on my SoundCloud.
We'll go to an ad here, and we'll dig another song up to play as we leave, but also I was just asking you off air about some of the artists that you admire in the city, and would you like to let listeners know who we should check out?
Yeah. Taryn the Tailor. He goes by The Tailor now. Really awesome stuff. Jess Hill's another favorite. Spring, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Bocephus King do some really great things with a Persian flair. They play every night at East is East every Friday evening. They're playing tonight, so if you're in the mood for some great food and some great music, hit that up.
Well, Jess Hill actually, she's someone I'd like to have on the show because a few different people have mentioned her as being a really good, good quality songwriter and great person. So it'd be great to maybe leave with a track from her. And which one did you say?
Capsize.
Capsize. We'll have a look at that.
That's my fave.
And before that, we'll play one more of your recorded songs here on SoundCloud. Is there one? We've got Diggin' or In the Red.
In the Red's about a matador. That's a good one.
Okay. Is it a matador that does anything dastardly? Is it a murder ballad or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Of course. What it's about is he has a reoccurring nightmare about going into the ring with no cape and no blade. And one day he does that, and his wife runs in after him in a red dress.
Awesome. Another great storytelling song from Lindy Gray.